Hi, everyone. Welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. This is the Odds Couple NBA show for Tuesday, January 10th. Mike Brenner is taking a very well-deserved break today. He's a little bit sick, so he's out, but we're going to be joined by Jeff from BMOCwins.com, who does also follow NBA regularly as much as college basketball. Jeff, we've only talked about college basketball with you, but you follow NBA as well?
Yeah, NBA's been a joy of mine for a long amount of years. Even before I handicapped, I always enjoyed the NBA. I still do.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's just quickly throw the record up so everyone can see. And yeah, Mike Brenner has a positive record overall in the NBA, a pretty large sample size. And look, if anyone deserves a day of rest, it's him. But I'm very curious to know what he would have thought about the games on today's card, because there's a couple that are looking like sort of classic Brenner picks, and one of them, I don't know, man, Cleveland at Utah. It's a suspiciously low line, but Brenner a lot of times bites on those suspiciously low lines. I have a feeling Brenner would have been on Cleveland. I mean, Utah's been, terrible ATS for a while. I know they're not that bad. They're better than that, but Cleveland at just -2 at Utah. Is that a trap or what?
Well, I mean, they lost 4 or 5 Utah against the spread, so you're right. They haven't been very good. And look, they're getting Kyle Korver, the Cavs. I think he's going to play in this game.
Right.
That's going to be a huge boost. He's a better version as far as a shooter of J.R. Smith. Doesn't give you a lot on the defensive end, but it's going to be interesting to see how Cleveland plays against a really good defense in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
And we know Utah, I mean, they are the best defense. For me, I tend to always want to back Cleveland in these kind of situations. Mm-hmm. Even without a player or something tonight, I would look to back them. They're just too good of a team.
Yeah.
Getting a number like this, I feel like they're always an auto bet at this price.
Yeah.
If you lose, you lose.
Yeah.
But getting a team that's 28-8, you don't have to lay 2.5. I'll take the bait, honestly.
I mean, Utah's lost 9 out of their last 11 ATS, and the Cavs are coming off of one of those games that, sometimes you want to fade NBA teams when they're complacent, go on them when they're a little bit agitated. And the Cavs, of course, in their last game almost blew that big lead. So they're a little bit agitated right now. Seems like kind of an obvious play on Cleveland, but the line is so low, and it opened at 3 and got bet down to 2, right?
My concern with Cleveland, and I've said this before with other really good NBA teams, laying big numbers, I'm not as opposed to playing them, like laying 15 consistently with Golden State.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of reasoning for them to care about winning by that amount in the regular season. A game like this, I mean, you basically have to win to cover. And with Cleveland, I mean, look, at the end of the day, they didn't play last night. It's not like they're off a back-to-back or anything. And like you mentioned it, Peter, they had a tough time at Phoenix the other night. They only won by 4. Like I said, I'm not quick to lay 9-10 consistently with Cleveland, but a number like this, again, it's an auto bet for me. If it loses, it loses.
Yeah.
But like anything, 28-8, I'm going to go with that team normally.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I'm not going to give it officially now. Let's move on to the Golden State game, like you said. Now, Golden State is an interesting. Obviously, they're an awesome team, but ATS on their full game spreads, they've lost 7 out of their last 8 games against the spread. Those are just full game spreads. They've covered some of the first halves, second halves, but the full game spreads, 1-7 ATS over their last 8. We have anything to say about that one?
Yeah, and it's been their defense. Defensively, they have not been good enough.
Yeah.
They're giving up 114 points a game over the last 5. You mentioned it, Peter. And again, you look at some of the teams they're playing. Not exactly great teams. Dallas, Sacramento, Memphis, who they lost outright to and gave up 128 points. You gave up 128 points to Memphis.
Yeah.
That's not very good. Miami, though, Peter, and they're turning into one of those misfit teams. The Nets, the Sixers. Miami's slowly getting into that territory, really. They can't score. They haven't been great defensively lately as far as their terms. I get the feeling Golden State wins big in this game for some reason. At home, Miami's got to go across the country. Again, Miami played the other night against the Clippers. They only scored 86 points. I get the feeling Golden State is one of those 20-plus point wins, but, I mean, you mentioned it. The way they played lately, it's hard to get involved with them.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll tell you what I will do. I did take a bet on the over in this game at 218 on the overnight. Now it's 219 or 219 and a half. And I know Miami is one of the worst offensive teams in the league, but when they play high-scoring teams like Golden State, they do actually tend to go into the level just below the stratosphere, and it was a relatively low total for a Golden State total. They are an overtrender at home, and so I bet the overnight over on 218. Now it's 219 and a half or 19. I think I will add to my permanent record over 219 minus 110. Seems reasonable, right?
Yeah, Peter, I get the feeling this is like a 118-94 type of game or something. And, no disrespect, Golden State's going to score. We know that. They're probably going to give some points, but Miami is just so pathetic on the offensive end. I mean, 95 points a game. I mean, there are college teams that can score over that on the road per game. So for me, I don't know. That's tough just because I don't want to have to depend on Miami to score because that's turned out to be really tough this year.
Right. So here's what I also might do. I might also give Golden State on the first half minus 9.5. I'm almost sure if Mike Brenner was here. What do you think?
That would probably be the way I would go in this game. You mentioned it. They've had trouble covering full games, kind of keeping it full quarters. But, over the first half, I know Mike's a big proponent of that. Yeah, I mean, this looks like a great spot for that. Miami, again, on the road, maybe come out a little lackadaisical here in this one. Look, if Golden State's shooting, I mean, they're going to beat everyone by a wide margin. You're really depending on that. Plus, they're at home. I would play this. That would probably be the way I'd look at it.
All right. In honor of Mike Brenner, I'll throw on Golden State first half minus 9.5, minus 106. It's a steep line, but again, I kind of agree with you. This might feels like it has blowout written all over it. Hopefully, Golden State will be motivated. Then another total that I bet on the overnight, I took over 224 in Charlotte and Houston. Now it's up to 225 or 225.5. And you just look at some of the numbers that these guys have been putting up, both teams recently. It's understandable why the line would get bet up even at the high total. And I think I will throw it on there onto my permanent record over 225 minus 110. You have anything to say about that one?
Yeah, Charlotte's getting some great production. Obviously, Kemba Walker turning into a fantastic NBA player. Charlotte, look, I mean, they've been going all over a lot lately. I think last five have gone over. You look at Houston, 8 of their last 10 have gone over, and they're going over by wide margins, seemingly. Charlotte hasn't really been able to play a lot of defense. Both these teams struggle lately on the defensive end. Yeah, this looks like one of those wild games. Houston, generally, we know they're an over team, the way they could shoot threes and hit threes. And, yeah, I didn't look a whole lot into this one. It is a pretty high total. But, yeah, Peter, look, you're never going wrong when you're taking Houston over the posted total. But, yeah, I mean, Charlotte should be able to score as well. I could see this one getting into the 230s.
And I am also going to take the first half over, which will be 114 minus 106 at Pinnacle. Now let's talk about another one. Jeff from BMOCwins.com. You might know this answer, or you might just be able to give an educated guess. But the Boston Celtics, their team total right now at Pinnacle is over 106.5 minus 130. Do you know how many games in a row in regulation Boston has gone to 110 or over with their team total?
I would say pretty frequently.
How many in a row? Guess.
7.
8. 8 games in a row, Boston Celtics have scored at least 110 points, and their team total here is 106.5. We know Toronto can go high scoring. Is this a no-brainer play on the Boston team total over?
We also know that Toronto has struggled lately defensively, giving up 113 a game. Yeah, Peter, look, when you get those streaks like that, you ride them until they lose. I think you got something there, 7 in a row. It's nothing to sneeze about, especially in the NBA. The volatility in the NBA is pretty high. I would. Yeah, I'm going to go on it myself. I didn't know that.
And Boston Boston's also just gone over in their games on the full game for 10 in a row. 10 overs in a row for Boston. So go ahead.
12 of 18 have gone over for the Toronto Raptors at home. Yeah, it looks like a lot of overs tonight.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to give the team total over with Boston. I'm using Pinnacle line 106.5 and minus 130. And then the first half in that Boston-Toronto game, the first half total at Pinnacle is just 105 minus 107. I'm definitely throwing that one on there.
Yeah, Peter, look, there's no better person in totals than you are. I think you are. You're the golden standard as far as totals.
They call me Totals Loshak because I'm way less shitty at totals than I am at size by a mile. And
you just threw that 7 in a row stat at me. I never knew
8
that.
8 in a row.
Great in a row. Wow, that's
All right, so this is going to be a long show. We're covering a lot of games, but only because there's a lot of picks I think have value. So let's move on. Another game that I find interesting is Atlanta at Brooklyn. Now, of course, for a lot of the first part of the season, Brooklyn, a bad team, but they were covering their big underdog spreads. Recently, that's gone the opposite direction. They've lost 4 out of their last 5 ATS. And of course, Atlanta's been on a roll, winning and covering. I'm thinking, though, maybe 8 points at home is a little bit too much for Brooklyn here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta's been total trash on the road as far as scoring the basketball. They haven't been able to even hit the 100-point mark on average. Brooklyn, look, I think the one thing about these teams, Brooklyn, the Sixers, you're always going to get a good effort out of them, I feel like. At any rate, they're not going to win anything. But, again, they're playing hard at the end of the day. Atlanta just seems kind of – I've used the word lackadaisical.
They've covered 5 in a row, though. I mean, very recently they're on a nice little small road streak right now. The question is, does it continue here?
They had a streak where they had lost like a ton of games in a row
Yeah.
and kind of really inconsistent. I don't know. They looked good early on. They kind of felt like they could, with Dwight Howard, they could kind of, be able to do some things without Al Horford. But the wheels kind of fell. But, again, like you said, Peter, they've started to get it going a little bit lately on the road here. I would probably grab them maybe one last time on the road here. Brooklyn's terrible. I mean, they really are. They're probably the worst team in the league, honestly. I think the Sixers are actually a little bit better than
So you think going forward, the Brooklyn is going to be more like their last 5 games or so than they were in the first part of the year? 'Cause in the first part of the year, they were a good bet ATS.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, that's going to wear off toward as the season continues. Look, early on, obviously these teams like this they'll play hard, but at the end of the day, I don't think Brooklyn's very good personally.
Yeah,
and I think they're probably the worst team in the league, really.
All right. Well, I was leaning Brooklyn plus the points and leaning the under in that one, but I will hold off for now. And then one other game that I did bet on the overnight, I took the under 223 in Portland and the Lakers. Now it's a 222.5 everywhere except Heritage still hanging at 223 in Portland. A weird team. You have to kind of look at Portland as with Lillard and without Lillard.
Right.
Of course,
that's exactly what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
Actually, Peter. Yeah, with Lillard, defensively they are awful for some reason.
Yeah.
With him in the line, without him, they're actually slightly better. I don't know. This is a tough one. Like you said, it's really all about if Lillard's in there. But look, the way the Portland Trailblazers play defense, I'm never looking to lay points at them on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care that they're playing the Lakers. They're a dreadful defensive team. I think if I can remember correctly, they're the worst defensive team in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And with Lillard in there, it looks like he's in there. I'm not interested in them. I'm
See,
sorry.
I agree with you on the Lakers. I would lean Lakers here. I was also thinking maybe about a shot with the under because I'm thinking that Portland at some point is going to try to correct their issues, and I think that the Lakers as well are going. I mean, they've clearly proven with their young guys they can get it done offensively, and I think they're going to start to try to find some way to get it done defensively as well. It's a high total. The two teams played recently. It was a high-scoring game, I know, but I'm thinking that the under might actually be a play here. But you think that Portland's defensive issues are a little bit intractable?
You're playing with fire, Peter, with that. It
Yes,
could be like
definitely.
right at the number, but I mean, you look at both teams and both trend highly to the over.
Yeah.
4 of the last 5 for both have gone over. I just think with Damian Lillard, they are not backable as far as unders are concerned. For whatever reason, he just makes them just dreadful in defense. I don't know why, but that's a tough one, Peter. I mean, if you can get, if that line goes up a little bit, maybe, 225, 226, maybe take the under, but at this price, I'm not really, I can't do it.
Yeah, I hear. All right, you know what I'll do? I'll take one small shot with it. You are absolutely right. That's the perfect way of saying it. Playing with fire. And actually, when I've been playing with fire in the NBA, I've gotten burned more than I've not. I'd be better off if I just gave my 1 or 2 picks that I really like and held off on the ones. But I'm going to play with fire one more time. I'm going to take the first half under 116 plus 100 Portland Lakers. Hopefully, they'll be able to play some defense. Probably it goes over and I take a loss, but that's all right. All right, and I guess that's about it. Is there anything else we didn't touch on that you think is worth mentioning?
Yeah, I actually have one play that I was kind of looking at. I'm going to go over 205 Pistons Kings. Both these teams, particularly lately, have played no defense. I mean, Detroit, I don't know what's happened to them, but they have just been lost on the defensive end. You also look at Detroit. Look, lately they've been really good on the offensive end, too. They've been rebounding the ball, 55 rebounds a game over the last 5. That's really impressive. And look, no Cousins last night. I don't believe he played. Should play tonight. They've had issues on the defensive end all year as well. I just think this is kind of a back and forth. Only have to lay 205 here.
Yeah.
I think both these teams get into the hundreds. I could see a pretty high-scoring game here. I'm just going to go with the numbers lately, and they've said, you look at the last time they played, 115, 108.
Yeah.
I think you'd see a similar game here. Both teams shooting the ball particularly well and not playing a hell of a lot of defense.
I was thinking that way as well. Detroit 6 straight overs. Of course, they're an overtrend around the road. It's just that it opened at 207. Now it's down to 205, which doesn't really mean – it means something but not everything.
I actually – that's one of the ways I cap the NBA, Peter. I look to fade line movement, and particularly here, you're already seeing it. It opened 207, got a lot of movement on the under. I'm going to look to go over here. A lot of people like under here for some reason.
All right, I might be on that with you later on, but as of right now, again, I'm going to hold off. All right, I guess that's about it. Great show, Jeff from BMOCwins.com. So again, you're just going to recommend one play. What are all the plays you want to recommend? Just the over in Detroit, Sacramento?
I'm going to just recommend over 205 in that Kings-Pistons game. The rest are kind of just lukewarm leans. Cleveland for me is an auto bet at that number, but I wouldn't tell anyone to bet it. It's just kind of something I do personally.
All right, that's awesome. Jeff from BMOCwins.com, of course, is a regular guest, and BMOCwins.com is Jeff's website.
Yes, sir, Peter. You can find me over there. Been doing a lot of good shows with SBR lately. I mentioned it before. I mentioned it again. You come over to my website. You mentioned you see me on here. I'll give you $50 off my college basketball service. We're doing really well with it this year, and I look forward to continuing to do it well all year. Been great at SBR. Having fun doing the videos every couple days.
All right, awesome. So let's move on to college basketball right now.
Sounds good.
We are talking with Jeff from BMOCwins.com. Today is Tuesday, January 10th. This is the Odds Couple segment of, this is a college basketball segment of the Odds Couple show today. Mike Brenner is off today, taking a very, 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 very well-deserved rest today. And we're going to talk with Jeff from BMOCwins.com, though, about college basketball. Let's throw the record up, Jeff, before we get into specific picks. Some very interesting situations in college basketball today. I was able to cap about two-thirds of the card and a few totals as well, and we'll see what you have to say. The first thing that we have to discuss, though, is, of course, the Baylor game. They are now the number one team in the country, ranked number one in the country, and giving 7 points to West Virginia. And, I was, when the matchup first came out, I was thinking West Virginia is probably the play here. But then when I saw the line at 6, I was like, all right, I think it's still probably the play, but I'm not feeling too confident about it. And now it's up to 7. What's your take on this, Jeff?
Yeah, I smell a rat with this game, Peter. I mean, this is the weirdest line I've seen all year thus far. I mean, a lot of people are asking, is Baylor's number one ranking warranted? Yeah, I mean, it is. And they beat a lot of really good teams this year. They look like one of the better teams. Are they the best overall team? I don't know. But now they got to go on the road and play in West Virginia, which we all know always very tough. I've mentioned it before on these videos. You got to point out the home team here. They seem to always get calls in this league. It seems to be extremely there's extreme discrepancy usually. For me, look, the line tells it all here, really. Why is the number one team getting 7 points in this spot? For me, it's quick. It's very easy. Can Baylor break the press and have a lot of wide open threes, and can they hit those threes? That's the way you beat West Virginia. Temple did it. Other teams have done it. Texas Tech did it as well. You have to be able to not only break that press, but hit open threes. I'm not sure Baylor can do that. I mean, they don't have very many guys that can shoot the ball at a high rate from three. Look, they do have good bigs, Motley and Akil. The guards are good. But you look at their guard that came in, Manu Lecomte. He's a transfer. Has he really ever seen a press of this caliber? I'm not too sure. This is a tough game, Peter. You look at the fact that I mentioned it, West Virginia struggles to shoot free throws. That could come into play here. Listen, at the end of the day, I'm going to hold my nose and take the 7 points here. It's hard for me to fade the number one team in the country getting this amount of points. I like West Virginia. To say that they're a top 5 team, though, is a little ridiculous, personally. I've watched this team several times. I don't really see it with them. They haven't been as dominant at home as usual against the spread. I'm going to hold my nose and take the points here. This Baylor team, 52% over the last 5 games. They've been seeing the ball. I think they can hit some threes tonight, keep this one close.
All right, so is that just like a lean, or do you want to put this on your official record?
I'm going to put this on my official record.
All right, plus 7 minus 102 is the current Pinnacle line, and I hit the under at 141 as soon as it came out. Now it's down to 137 or 138, 137. That's why
they call you Totals Loshak, Peter.
Yeah, and I don't know if I want to give it at one. I mean, if you look at, obviously West Virginia's held some very fast-paced teams down, Oklahoma State, and but West Virginia. Baylor has held up some very fast-paced teams down. It's just at 138. I don't know if I still want to give it publicly, but I definitely liked it at 141. Now let's talk about another game. Looks like a 10-foot pole to me, but Kentucky is obviously pretty much a play-on or pass team right now. They're a double-digit favorite, though, at Vanderbilt. Do you have anything to say about that one?
Yeah, again, I'm not getting in the way of them, Kentucky, right now. I thought the other night Ole Miss would kind of grab the 17 and kind of keep that one a little bit more close than normal, but Kentucky just did their normal blowout in the second half. Vanderbilt has been colossally disappointing with Bryce Drew. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to get it figured out, and I don't want to work with them as far as in the science lab until they get it figured out. I'll avoid them. Kentucky, am I going to play it? Probably not, but they've covered 10 of 14, Peter. I'm not looking to really get in the way of that.
All right, next huge game, Xavier and Villanova, and Xavier, of course, gets back their player who harassed his ex-girlfriend, which we don't condone on this show. But as far as his talent is concerned, we can't deny it. That's a plus. That's an addition for Xavier going up against Villanova. And I will admit that I took Xavier when it was 7.5, and now it's up to 8. So someone bet Villanova. I could see a double-digit win by Villanova, but I'm not sure if that's a percentage play. What's your take on that one?
Yeah, I mean, I heard Chris Mack said that he he's going to have to earn his spot on the team. How effective and how much will he really be in there? I got to tell you, I'm not very high on Xavier personally long term, especially with Villanova off of the loss. I know they did beat Marquette over the weekend pretty handily. I'm never one to fade Villanova at home. I'm again live near the area. They seem almost unbeatable at home. But look, Xavier can shoot the basketball. I mean, particularly lately, they get him back. That's going to be a huge plus on the road. But listen, I don't like to step in front of Villanova. I'm just not interested. They've also covered 6 of 8 against Xavier, and again, I'm not high on them initially anyway. So on the road, I'm not really interested in Xavier. They've really been poor. I mean, they shoot 40%. I'm not interested on the road backing Xavier.
I might be on the wrong side of that. Then Duke, Florida State. I didn't have time to look at this game, but maybe you did. What's your take on it?
Yeah, this is one game I did take a look at. It's a tough game. Emil Jefferson out for Duke is huge for them. He is really, I think, their most important player, the way he can rebound, his veteran presence. He averages a double-double, Peter, per game with 2 blocks. Florida State may have a huge edge tonight on the rebounds with him out. And look, Florida State goes 12 deep, Peter. They can really just go totally deep. You wonder, again, I actually think Florida State, this is a sleeper team for me in the ACC. I think they're really good, especially against the spread, 10-4 to the number this year. At home, they've been fantastic offensively and defensively. They've been pretty damn good as well. And they continue to win big games. They've already beaten their last 3 ranked opponents. And one thing I have to think is important here, Grayson Allen, in his many trip incidents, one of his trips was Xavier Wraithen Mays, who plays for Florida State. I got to feel like that gives them a little bit of vendetta here maybe against this little punk Grayson Allen. Again, also Florida State can guard the three-point line, only giving up about 31.5% from the three-point line. So I got to go with Florida State here. I'm going to give this pick out
officially.
I think without Emil Jefferson, Duke is a little bit of a different team. I didn't like what I saw on the road from Duke in their last outing against Virginia Tech. They were sorely underperformed to play no defense. I think Florida State at home is the play here. I think they get a big win here.
All right, it was open at 1.5. Now it's up to 2.5 minus 110. Is that okay for you?
I'm okay with that. I think you get a 3 to 6 point victory here.
Okay, and then we got Kansas at Oklahoma, Kansas State at Texas Tech. I'll quickly mention a couple of games that I'm willing to give officially. I took Miami of Ohio at +7. Just think the line's a little bit off, and that has gotten bet down to a 7 or 6.5. And I'll take the Greek line, which is still at +7 minus 110. And then I'm also going to take Alabama at home against Florida. Alabama, of course, just lost to Clemson last night, and Alabama, kind of a risky team. They have some big pluses with their defense and rebounding, and a big negative with their offense, of course. Florida's a quality team. Don't really like to fade them, but it's probably going to be a low-scoring game. Alabama at home getting 5.5. I think I'm willing to do that. What do you think?
Peter, real quick, I as you know, I have a podcast every day, and I do it with my best friend. We do it together, and I give him a little segment. He does a play of the day. He's hit 8 plays in a row.
Really?
Yeah, and I believe he's on one of the games you mentioned. I don't want to give it out, but I'll say it's the second game. He really, from what I understand, really likes Florida in this game.
Oh, no.
Yeah, which isn't good because he's been on fire lately. I would hate to go against him here. But, look, Alabama at home, listen, they've been fantastic defense, won 6 of 7. I got to wonder and maybe take a look at why he likes this game. I got to see more into it. But, look, Florida's covered 8 of 10 as a favorite.
Yeah.
In this favorite role, they seem to do pretty well. So, I don't know. SEC games are tough at home.
Yeah. All right. I'll pull that one, and I will just go with Miami of Ohio +7 officially. What else would you think is interesting? If there's anything else that you think was worth noting?
Interesting. Indiana going on the road at Maryland. Maryland's not really gotten a lot of pub this year, but again, they still have one of the best players in the country. I think Melo Trimble. I know you mentioned it, Peter. Will they get that supporting cast going earlier this year? They have. I mean, they're 14-2. That's always a very tough place to play down at College Park. And look, Indiana has struggled on the defensive end, and that's why they've lost games against the Fort Waynes of the world. They just don't play a whole hell of a lot of defense. I think, with the way Maryland's played lately, that's an intriguing matchup down there in College Park. And I also see that Northern Kentucky, Peter, getting 4 against Green Bay. I've mentioned I'm pretty high on Northern Kentucky. They've been pretty damn good against the spread, too, covering 10 of 13. Maybe a team for the listeners to take a look out for in the mid-majors. They're playing a Green Bay team who, look, I mean, the MO with Green Bay is run, but they don't play a hell of a lot of defense. I'm pretty high on Northern Kentucky. I'll be interested to see how they play on the road in conference here tonight, getting 4 points.
All right, but as far as your permanent record that we are tracking here, I've got you on Florida State and Baylor. Is that the only two, or is there any others you want to add to that?
Yeah, I'm going to go with those two. Definitely, I will point out, definitely a pretty tough card tonight. A lot of interesting matchups. One other one, Peter, maybe to take a look at if you're, looking at games. St. Joe's at home hosting a pretty hot George Mason team. George Mason's been played pretty well this year. St. Joe's lost their best player, Shavar Newkirk, out for the year. Watched him play in high school. Great player, 20 points a game. He's not in there, and they've struggled since he's been out. It'll be interesting to see if George Mason can get a road win here. But, yeah, as far as the plays I'm concerned with, I'm going to look at these two bigger matchups. I might be eating my words with Baylor. They may lose by double digits, but it's hard for me to go against that. It's kind of an auto bet for me.
All right, sounds good. We broke the hell down. We broke down the hell out of this interesting card. We didn't even finish. There's a lot of other. Actually, let's just talk about one quick game. Do you have more time for one quick game? Syracuse, right? Very inconsistent team. They're going on the road. You got to figure that on the road they're more vulnerable. We talked with Ed Feng, and we did a call with Ed Feng, who does analytics in college basketball. He sort of mentioned that he likes Virginia Tech in general. What do you think about Virginia Tech as a small home favorite?
I'll be interested to debate with Ed Feng because we have some differing opinions on certain things. This is one, though, I do agree with him, though. I like Virginia Tech, particularly at home. They have been a really good home team. Syracuse, we've talked about their inconsistencies. They have seemed to got it figured out lately, though. But those two games are at home. Now they're going to go on the road, a place that they have lost all 4 road games this year. They're only scoring 60 points a game. And listen, Virginia Tech is slowly becoming one of the tougher atmospheres in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Just say it's Duke. That place can get rowdy. I like Virginia Tech. I would lean them in this game. Until Syracuse can get it figured out on the road, I'm not interested in that.
That's another line, though, that has me scratching my head because it opened at 4.5. Now it's down to 3.5, and the Chris books have 3. So obviously some money coming in on Syracuse.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's definitely weird. There's some weird lines tonight for sure.
Yeah.
Some teams getting a lot of love. This Texas Tech team's one of them. They're getting a ton of love lately. I've mentioned it before. I'll say it again. I don't think Texas Tech's a very good team. I know they beat West Virginia, but at the end of the day, let's take a look at their schedule. Do it. And laugh. You'll laugh at their schedule. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
They're getting a lot of respect here as well. So a lot of stuff, Peter. It'll be interesting to see how it all turns out.
Yeah. All right. We can just wrap it up. And you know what I will do? I will throw on Alabama plus 5.5 minus 105. That's a Chris line. What the hell? What the hell?
They're
What the
gonna
hell?
do it.
You know, what the hell? What the hell? All right. Jeff from BMOCwins.com. Thanks so much. Talk to you again very soon.
Do your research before you bet. Check out our ratings guide to see which books have the best ratings and sign-up bonuses. Open up several accounts. Shop for lines at sbrodds.com. Always be ahead of the game.